slaves went, transported down the Mississippi to the cotton fields of the Deep South. Lewis Hughes was also sold down the river. At 11 years old, he was bought in Virginia for $380.
I can still see my mother's face when she bade me goodbye. I ran off from her as quickly as I could, for I did not want her to see me crying. It came to me more and more plainly that I would never see her again.
Lewis arrived at the plantation of Mr. Edward McGee. His new owner was one of the wealthiest planters in Mississippi.
When I went out into the yard, everywhere I looked, slaves met my view. I never saw so many slaves at one time before.
The young boy was presented as a gift to Mrs. McGee and put to work around the main house. Alone and helpless, he worked hard at his tasks. But it was of no use.
Mrs. McGee was naturally irritable. I tried to please her by arranging the parlor when I overheard her say, "They soon get spirit. It don't do to praise them." My heart sank within me.
So Lewis Hughes speaks of his mistress as someone who would simply hit him as he walked by or cuff his ears when he was simply, he thought, going about his business. One of the saddest sides of this story is that over and over again, the children don't understand why they're being beaten. What is the motive? What am I being corrected for? What is it that I'm doing that I shouldn't be doing? You can imagine what this does psychologically if you don't know why you're being beaten.
Lewis Hughes's mistress becomes for him an example of the way that slavery corrupts the character of white people. He looks at her and how she takes out her bad feelings on the slaves on a daily basis and thinks, this is, this institution is actually bad for white people. It makes them into terrible people.
In the Cotton Kingdom, slaveholders saw themselves as members of a new aristocracy. They built lavish homes, bought the finest furnishings, and prided themselves on the elegance of their manners. Their leisure was purchased by the back-breaking labor of others. At harvest time, young Lewis was sent to the fields.
The daily task of each able-bodied slave during the cotton-picking season was 250 pounds or more, and all those who did not come up to the required amount would get a whipping.
Enslaved people labored from sunup to sundown, and when the moon was full, they continued into the night. Children as young as 9 picked cotton.
And now we had to start thinking about people as slaveholders thought about people, and that is as machines. You have to keep your machines working at top speed for as long as possible.
Having made their fortunes in the Deep South, planters turned their attention to gaining political power, becoming